going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to teach you how to change the oil in your shock. So shock oil, what is it? What does it do? And what is changing it or replacing it going to do for you? Well, today we're going to be demonstrating on my 2.5 T-Max here. This particular truck has 8 shocks. Changing the fluid in this is going to be the same on all of it. We're going to do one for y'all, and pretty much you just repeat the process however many shocks you have. So the shock oil is just like it says, it's oil that goes into your shocks, and that's going to control how fast or how slow the shock absorbs and rebounds when it's compressed. It has nothing to do really with the firmness of it. That's going to be your spring, but the oil is going to control the speed. Now, we can get into a whole lot of this or that with shock oils. What weight should I use? Today we're going to be using 30 weight, and that's pretty much what Traxxas uses in all their off-road RC cars as a starting oil. General rule of thumb, the lighter the weight fluid, the better it is for off-road. The thicker the weight, the better it is for on-road. When you think you're off-road on a dirt trail or something, and your truck is going up and down, up and down, up and down, you want that rebound speed to be fast to keep the tires on the ground. Like I said, on-road car, you're going to want thicker, because if you hit a little pothole, you don't want the car to bounce all over the place. You want it to stay firm. So we're going to start off with what you're going to need to actually change the shock oil. Now, of course, you can't change the shock oil without shock oil. So what we're using today is going to be Team Lowe's Racing 30 weight. Now, each brand's 30 weight may be slightly different, but this is what we're using today. It's a pretty lightweight oil. It's going to be good for the T-Max. So we got our 30 weight oil. We got our screwdriver, which you may have Allen keys or whatever you may have. In our case, it's just a Phillips head screw, so that's all we're going to need on that. You're going to want something to put the oil in. Of course, this oil is going to make a mess, so you want some paper towels. And then I like to use Q-tips on the inside of the shock. It just helps clean it out just a little bit more. Now, getting started here, pretty much any RC car that you have, some of them may be different, but almost every one is going to have a top screw, is going to have a bottom screw. And we're going to pull both of those out. And there we have our shock. So now that you pulled the shock off the truck, you're going to start taking the actual shock assembly apart. Now, if you look at the bottom right here, it's got this little cap. This is what's actually holding the spring in. You're going to compress the spring with your fingers, and then this is going to slide right off. Put that right there. That's going to make your entire spring come off. Then you've got your upper retaining clip. It's going to slide off, and then you may or may not have these, and you can pull these off to start with, or like I just did. These are pretty much spring compressors. They're going to control how much this spring compresses down. Of course, the more it compresses down, the stiffer it's going to be. This truck, I'm not really sure if they came with this one in it to start with. It's a little used truck that I bought. I'm going through one step at a time, so we're probably just going to put it back the way it came. But right now we got this is our bare shock. And there's a lot of this that you pretty much pull this whole thing apart and replace. There's O-rings in here, there's little seals and everything. This shock looks like it's actually in pretty good shape. I'm gonna wipe it off a little bit. But if you've got a shock that's got like a bent shaft on it, or one of the rod ends is messed up or cracked or something, you can replace whatever you're going to replace right now. Is a perfect time to do it. But like I said, this one looks pretty good, so all we're going to do with this one is just change the fluid. And you're going to hold the shock body and you're going to twist this cap off. Once you get the cap off, you should find this little diaphragm. It's very important as to how the shock goes back together. Now this one, I'm not sure, we'll see. It's actually got some extremely clean fluid for what I was expecting it to be, but you can see it's got some black down at the bottom where it's settled. This truck, like I said, I bought it used. Really don't know that much about it. There's a lot of things I need to replace on it. We're starting with this. But it looked like the guy that had it took pretty good care of it. So now we've poured out most of the shock oil that we can get. I like to come in with a Q-tip here and just run it around on the inside. You're probably going to have to use a couple of them because they get pretty nasty. Oh yeah, we're going to need another one. You're just going to keep wiping the inside of this until you get it clean. I think I'm actually going to do one more. Alright, as you can see on that Q-tip, it's getting pretty clean now. Alright, so now you don't have any fluid in the shock. It moves freely, so I know everything is good on the inside. It's not binding up or anything. So we're not going to really do anything, like I said, with replacing parts. But what you're going to do is you extend this shock shaft all the way out, and you're going to grab your shock fluid. And you're going to fill the shock pretty much, not all the way to the top, but fairly close to the top, about 3/4 of the way. And you're going to stop. And then you're going to run this shock shaft up. You'll pull it back down, and you'll run it up again. And what you're doing is you're getting fluid under that little diaphragm that's inside of there. It's got little holes in it, and that's what the oil travels through. And then I'm going to top it off. You gotta do what we just did one more time. Now what you're looking for in here, you're looking for any bubbles, any tiny bubbles that may occur in the shock. If you have any bubbles, you're going to wait for them to pop. Alright, now after you waited for all your bubbles to pop themselves, or just a very few in there, you gotta put your diaphragm in your shock cap. You're going to put this shock cap back on here. And it's going to squeeze some fluid out. And then what you're looking for is when you push this shock in, it comes back out by itself. Now sometimes it'll come out a little bit more depending on how new the shock is and what kind of fluid you're using and stuff. This is a lightweight fluid, so it's not going to really push hard on it. Now one thing you want to look out for is if you're pushing your shock in and say it stops right there and you can't push it without forcing it, you've got too much fluid in it. So you take the cap off, you can bleed it out a little bit, you pour it out, but you want it to come at least almost in, all the way in, and then come back out. You're looking for that little rebound right there. Now after you've got the oil in the shock the way you want it, you've got your rebound coming back out. Make sure all your seals and everything are good. Reassembly is the exact same thing as disassembly, just backwards. So you're going to take your top spring retainer, slide that on, take your spring, hold that back with your fingers as you put it in their bottom retainer. And then like I said, the spring compressor, you can pull that down, slide this back in the way they had it. And there is your refreshed, brand new oil shock. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Hopefully you learned something today. Changing your shock oil is not that hard. It's just routine maintenance. If you're going to change your weight in your fluid to a little bit thicker, a little bit thinner oil, the process is going to be exactly the same. Just make sure you get all your bubbles out, you clean out the shock shaft when you're pulling the old fluid out, and have fun with it. Appreciate it, guys.